Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Universal basic income. Shall we talk about that? Is that nonsense or what? What a bunch of nonsense. Let's say we do it the right way. The right way would be to do away with the entire welfare state. Absolutely everything. Food stamps, assistance with medical care, regulations of the medical industry, Social Security, Medicaid, gone. The only thing may be veterans benefits, and that's such a disaster. Don't we all know that's a disaster? So what could we or would we, what do we imagine would happen if all the welfare state were wiped away and everybody were just given $1,000 a month? Now, is that going to happen? It's just not going to happen. They might add the universal basic income on to the conglomeration of the welfare state we already have. That might happen, but they are not going to wipe away all those other programs. If they did, that would be the day that pigs fly. So let's not worry about that. Let's worry about gluing the UBI on to the system we already have. You got people who wake up in the morning and they look down at the shoes next to their bed. They have two options. They put those shoes on and go hang out with their friends all day and enjoy life while it lasts. Life's short. You only live once. Or they can put those shoes on and go do something they'd rather not do, but that someone else wants them to do, and get paid for it. And then they'd have money to do whatever, to buy into the man's dream, right? Get a house and a car, but who needs a house and a car? So that's the world we live in today. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of wealth around, and there's not a lot of motivation for people to go work really hard because you can get enough food and housing to get along in life without working more than, say, 40 hours a week. So there's a lot of people that only work 40 hours a week. They don't want to work 50 or 60 or 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week, like people in a lot of human history had to do. So how are you going to help society and make anything any better by demotivating a big swath of society and saying, if you don't want to go to work, you can survive? Here's another problem with it. Let's say you look around at society today and you say, well, you know, $1,000 a month would be enough for a person to do X, Y, or Z on. It's not a lot, but it would be enough for X, Y, or Z. So you start handing $1,000 a month out to everybody in society. All of a sudden, you've got millions of people looking for small apartments or houses. Maybe their income's gone up by enough now they can get a house. Maybe they've never had a house or an apartment. They've always stayed in the spare room of a cousin or aunt, and now they're going to get their own place. And so the price of apartments, where there used to be 1 million people a month looking to get another apartment or switch or move, now there's 3 or 4 or 7 or 10. What's the price of an apartment going to be? What's going to happen to the price of an apartment? What's going to happen to the price of a Happy Meal? If all of a sudden the people who were just sitting at home eating whatever their parents had in the house, now they have their own money. And they're going to go get a Happy Meal because they love the little toys. And so, and they love Pokemon, and they heard there's Pokemon toys, and they heard they're collectible. So they're going to start spending their money. People that don't have any money and aren't bothering society right now and aren't making any demands on society's resources because they're not producing anything for society. So they're just not there really. All of a sudden they're going to be making big demands on society's resources. And they're still not going to be producing anything. They're not going to be helping. So that's going to cause the availability of everything in society to go down, which is going to cause the price to go up. Now, who likes this idea? The government. Yeah, they want prices to go up, because if prices are going up, then you've got to hurry and spend your money before prices rise. I'll just mention real quick that in the 1800s they had deflation, back when it was gold and silver. Deflation. Deflation is not a bad thing. What that means is the prices come down over time. So nobody would buy a house if they could save up another 6 months or a year. They could get an even better house for the same money or for a little more money, or they could get the same house for less money. Yes, prices went down all the time throughout the century. The price of a loaf of bread went from 20 cents to 19 to 18 to 17 to 14 to 12 to 11 to 6 to 5 to 2. And all of a sudden you get a whole damn loaf of bread for a penny at the end of the century. And then it turned around, went the other way. Prices started going up and up and up and up and up because the government got control of the money supply, and they want you to spend that money. They don't want you to save it, because if you spend the money, then you stimulate the economy. They don't want shoes to be sitting in the stores and money to be sitting into your mattress. They want you to go buy those shoes. Then the shoe guy has to make more shoes. And guess what? You have to pay a tax when you buy them, and he has to pay a tax when he gets his leather. And so that's better. So keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. And that's what they like that system for. All right, now I don't even remember. I'm so upset about inflation. Deflation is a good thing. There's no such thing as healthy inflation. There should be constant deflation, and the rate of deflation is dictated by the increase in productivity in society over time. So as we become more productive, we should pay less money for shoes, shirts, apartments, electricity, cars. Why do we pay more and more and more, always more? Unless we get it from China, and then the price goes down, but the quality goes way down. All right. Geez, I really don't remember what I started this video on. Shall I finish there? I hope I've said everything I need to say. What the hell did I start this video on? Universal basic income. So that's what it is. It's a disaster. And they'll just stick it on to the edge of the welfare state, and it'll grow. And eventually they will have to do something to stop us from trying to dismantle this system. And they will label anyone who doesn't like the system a saboteur or a terrorist, and they will put them in prison and in concentration camps, torture chambers, and the system will go on until there's not enough food or housing, and then the people will go into the streets to try to protest, and they will be poor, hungry, starved, decrepit people facing the military, which will still be well fed, and that day will come if we head down this universal basic income. And a person who dies in that shootout on some street in Utah or Texas or California with the government in 50 years or in 20 years, a person who dies in that shootout might say, "Who has brought this misery to us?" And I will say Milton Friedman was one of the first who said universal basic income would be a good idea. So sometimes you have the good guys to thank for the bad ideas, don't you? And you wonder how good those guys are. So, and the Jews that were marched into the ovens by the Nazis looked up and said, "Who has brought this to us?" A Jew, Karl Marx. See how that happens? And then the university professors who are being surrounded by mobs and threatened and beaten up. And they say, "Who has brought this to us?" Well, university professors have given us this. So we're going to see a day when the universal basic income reduces our society to grinding poverty. And there's a group of people that are in power that don't care. They don't care if that happens. They will still be in power. They do not care. And they'll suffer too, ultimately. Think of all of Stalin's henchmen. Think of all of Hitler's henchmen. They didn't know on any given day whether they were going to be dead with a bullet in their head the next day. Anybody, anywhere in Stalin or Hitler's government never knew whether they'd be dead the next day, no matter how powerful they were. So when you think, oh, they were selfish, greedy, evil people, no, they were trapped inside of a terrible, violent, evil system. And the UBI is just one more nail in our coffin toward that type of system. So march down that road with bravery if you want to, but you're not going to be allowed to own a gun somewhere down that road, because they don't want you to be able to reverse that system. That's too powerful a system. It's too It gives them too much control over you to take everybody's money and dole it out a piece at a time, and then demotivates people and they become less and less productive and they have less and less power. But somebody has power. People with guns will have power. No, it's a very, very dangerous system. There's a country in South America that had this type of system. Started with a V. Look that up.